Hello and welcome to this video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the uniform I'm wearing right now, which is the sailor's uniform of the Royal Norwegian Navy as it is currently being used. And let's just get right into it. So as you can see, it looks basically like most other navies sailor uniform. You got the black jumper with the open collar and the thingy, of course, going back here. And you can't see it on the camera, but I'll put in a picture of the trousers. The trousers are actually quite wide, kind of bell-bottom trousers. So these trousers are a little bit out of date, but the one that they are currently using is pretty much exactly the same, except that they kind of smarten up the bell-bottom trousers. And of course, the history of this uniform goes back to the late 1800s, when everyone were copying the Royal Navy uniforms. And of course, there's been some changes since then. Primarily, the cap has been smartened up a bit, and of course the overall cut is smartened up a bit. Well, this is a surprisingly comfortable uniform or perhaps not surprisingly, it's probably the most comfortable kind of nice uniform of the Norwegian military. It's I wouldn't mind it wearing this all day, and but of course it's smartened up a bit, so it's not as practical as it would have been back in the day. But anyways, pre World War II, you would have seen, of course, striped shirts like this. But when the Second World War started, the Norwegian Navy started using white shirts with just of course, the blue lined collar. I think both, not entirely sure as if it was primarily because they wanted to imitate the British or because they could more easily get the British shirts, but they liked that design, so they stuck around with that design until 2013. That's when they got back these stripy shirts again. And at this point, I have to admit, this is not a authentic stripy shirt. This is a Russian telnyashka, so I'm cheating a little bit right there. And speaking of the British, as you can see, I'm wearing a white pattern 37 belt. This is not a British produced belt. I believe this is a Norwegian produced belt that's made white. It's not blancoed. And these are still in use today as ceremonial belts or for parades and such. Still looks pretty good with a uniform like this, in my opinion. Of course, there used to be like a knot, like a tie knot here, like the Royal Navy used, of course. But it looks a bit more like the German style, so it's just the knot. It doesn't have the tails hanging out like this. But those are no longer in use, so that's the reason I'm not wearing it. And of course, just mentioning the cap, it's there used to be both a summer and winter variant of this, with the white cover being for summer use. So now you only see the black ones being used. Of course, there's a tropical variant which is made of a very thin cotton material, but I'm going to kind of put that on the side because you very rarely see those being used. But anyways, the cap, of course, I'm not entirely sure about the dates when they started using only the white covers, but I believe sometimes in the 90s. I've talked to guys who were in the Navy in the 80s, and they still had the black and black cover for this. And if we, or actually, we'll take a closer look at this afterwards, when we take a closer look at everything. Okay, so first let's take a look at the sailor cap. Of course, not too unusual design. And just looking at the main features, you of course have a simple cockade at the front, and of course the band says K&M Harald Hårfagre, or K&M Harald Hårfagre, as it will be properly pronounced, which is basically the K&M stands for Royal Norwegian Navy, and Harald Hårfagre is the name of boot camp of the Navy. Harald Hårfagre was a ship in the Second World War. Depending on the ship you're serving in, you will of course have different text here. And if we take a look, let's just quickly take a look at the back. It's kind of just meets in a seam here. You don't have any tails coming off the back as some navies do. So let's take a quick look at the inside. Here we can see basically just a name tag, name card, and also the name of the manufacturer, Hufa, which basically makes most of the, if not all of the headgears in use by the Norwegian military, all branches. And if we also have this chin strap. You do see this being worn, but most of the time you just see the band kind of tucked in, and this just being put straight on the head. So not entirely sure when the chin strap is mandated to be used, but it's there, and it's hidden away for most of the time. So, and there's also a, if I can find it, there's a small tag on the inside. It has a plastic kind of stiffener in here, so it keeps its shape. The earlier Norwegian sailors' caps were just soft; they didn't have any stiffening to them, so you can, and it was the style kind of pull the crown back. So that's the cap, and let's take a closer look at the jumper. Kind of a way to recognize Norwegian jumpers is that it has on the left chest pocket on the left side of the breast you have a pocket, and this is fully functional. Of course, back in the day, this would be used to store useful things like a small knife or other things, but now it's mostly just there for decoration. And you also have kind of this straight seam going across the chest is also a way to recognize Norwegian jumpers. And of course, on the right upper sleeve you have a Norwegian flag, as is mandated on all Norwegian uniforms. And the collar thingy is held in place with one button at the back of the neck, very similar to the British, and also it's fastened on the inside with Velcro. This is a older collar, so the Velcro is not very strong in this case. So, but it keeps on well enough for display, and also at each corner you have the same Velcro system to keep it on this. And this is the style that's been in use since forever. Nothing fundamentally has changed about it. So, and also we have the sleeve is closed with a single button. This is just a standard Navy button, modern Navy button. And another interesting detail is on the left side of the jumper, there's a zipper kind of that goes down the length of the side of the tunic to make it easier to put on and off, because of course it's not as loose fitting as it was back in the day. So this helps a lot in putting this on easily, and it's very discreet as well. So that's a very good thing. I forgot to show you the tags on the inside. So this is the manufacturer's mark, K Stormark, based in Dokka, and you have the Navy property mark. Then you have the let's see if I can, washing instructions, and also the fabric content. So you have 55% polyester and 45% wool, which is fairly typical of these types of uniforms. And there's another, hang on. Right, so on the other side you have this mark with a NATO stock number right here, size 54, jumper, parade, and basically just a order number at the bottom there. Nothing going on the other side. Just taking a very quick look at the trousers. There's not a lot going on here, but just to show you guys, you have on the front you have a double hook system, which is fairly common for Norwegian Norwegian kind of finer uniforms. It's lined with these pockets are lined with this white material, also fairly typical of this type of thing. And you have the manufacturer's mark, the exact same, K Stormark of Dokka, the pretty much the exact same washing instructions, and of course the exact same fabric contents, and also the size 56N. N stands for the length of the trousers, but these are fairly short, so I'm not sure if they were designed to be very short or if someone has tailored them to be shorter. But also the trousers are very straight-legged. It's maybe a bit hard to see, but they do kind of widen out at the bottom. Actually, I think you can see that pretty well. So that's it for the trousers. Of course, there's also a double-breasted wool tunic, wool jacket to be worn over this in not foul, but in slightly colder weather, for example, and also a Gore-Tex jacket to be worn. Okay, so that's it for this video. If you have any questions or comments or anything, leave them down below, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. And as always, thank you for watching, and goodbye.